Hi, this is Eddie, and I want to go over some landscape wiring problems that you might run into. And I have a solution that will stop this from happening. A lot of the kits that you buy nowadays have this this connector right here, and what this connector does is it's attached to your light, and what happens is you have a couple of small pins in there. If you can see that, let me see if I can focus that in. Yeah, you got a couple of small pins in there that will pierce the wire as you lay the wire in that valley right there, like that. Those little pins in there will pierce the wire, and that'll be your connection to your light. Okay, so the problem with that is you know, I live in an area where the temperature rises and falls probably, you know, between seasons. I mean, you get 80-degree difference sometimes. So the metal contacts in the metal wire expand and shrink, and it causes a loose connection in here. So, you know, one night you come home and your lights are working, the next night you come home they're not working. So what I found is you can, instead of using these connectors, you can actually just cut the wires here and install heat shrink connectors. Or heat shrink tubing, which comes in many different sizes, as you can see, different colors. So what happens when you use this, these products, is it creates a waterproof seal against the wire, and I'll do a demonstration on it as well. So instead of setting up your lights to go through this connector, you just wire everything. I'm just going to use these as a prop, and I'll show you how to do it. So basically what you do is you just cut this connector right out of here. Alright, you can take that out of there too. That's just your stake to hold it in the ground. Now, you know, take your wire and strip it back probably about an inch, so you have a nice clean piece of wire, and then twist it to the right, and take your, this will be like your main wire harness, which would have been connected like this, and you had to cut it here so you could put your light in. So what you do is you cut it and you strip back the insulation on both sets of wire on both ends, and then connect it to your light on one side. What we're going to do is we're just going to take the wire and we're going to twist it together, because this makes one of the best connections possible. So let me see if I can just focus that. So what I do is I just twist the wires together. Actually, before you do that, make sure both sets of wires are twisted nice and tight, so you have a nice good connection on both wires. It's actually one of the best ways to do it. So then twist it, make sure your wires are pretty even. You getting this? Make sure your wires are even. Twist them together like that. And there you got, now that the lights connected to your wire harness. That's a tool we didn't need. Strip back the other half and do the same thing on the other side. Just twist the wires clockwise on both sides like this, and then get the wires even, and then really give a good twist together like this to make a good connection. You don't need to solder these, because solder will sometimes create a problem. It will corrode the wires, and you don't want to do that. So, you know, let's back this up a little bit here so you get better focus. Okay, so then what you do if you're going to use a butt connector with heat shrink, you just slide it on here. Make sure your butt connector is big enough to fit both sets of wires, because when you add two wires together it tends to get a little thick on the end like that. So make sure your wires go right into the metal piece inside the butt connector. Then you can just crimp it. You find a little yellow dot on there and then crimp your wire. It's like that, nice and tight. And then you can twist this one again to this side. This is your wire that continues in the other direction. You want to cut that back just a bit, so enough of your insulation goes inside the butt connector. And again, take your crimpers, find the little yellow dot right there. I can't get it in there. Okay, there we go. Set it, push the wire in, crimp it. There. Okay, now that's done. Now, the other thing I suggest is you can use shrink wrap tubing, which works just as good, if not better, because you don't need to crimp the wires or the butt connector to do it. So basically, you twist your wires again, and this time what you have to do is you have to let's see if this is going to be big enough for this side, because the wires do get thick when you connect them together. Yep. But see, it's a great size. It's not too big, it's not too small. And what we'll do is we'll connect these two ends together. See, normally the wires would be the same length, but because I use the butt connector on this side, it's a little bit messed up. Usually you don't use a butt connector in the shrink wrap tube, and you use both, one or the other. So this is just for demonstration purposes only. Twist these wires together to make, oops, you know what, very important part right here. Twist that wire together, make sure this one's twisted together. Very important, slide the shrink wrap tubing on first before you twist the wires, because there's no way of getting it on after, because you can't cut it and wrap it around. You have to have it totally covering the wires. Okay, once the wires are twisted together like that, what I like to do is, because this side's so thick and this side is not as thick, just bend this down to on one side like that, and then slide the tubing over each side like that. Okay, so there you go, you got it together here, and this side's connected with a butt connector, but shrink wrap tubing as well. This is just heat shrink tubing. So here's the fun part. I use my little mini torch. It's an MT76, if you can see that. And let me just focus in on that bad boy. This thing is great because you can use it for a lot of different things. You can use it for doing wiring like this. You can use it to solder wires, because you have a bunch of different tips that you can put on this. And you can also use it for doing your irrigation system. Sometimes you have to heat the plumbing to put the connectors together, and this you can just heat the PVC and then slide your connector right on the end of it and then put your clamp on it. It works beautiful. So anyways, back to the heat shrink. Just fire this baby up, let it get nice and hot. I locked it. What this does is it curls around. You can use a heat gun, or you can use this type of torch. I prefer this torch because it's just very convenient. You don't have to have a plug. I mean, if you're working on your boat, or if you're working on your four-wheeler out in the yard, or whatever, your trailer, who knows, whatever you got. These things are portable, and you don't need electricity to use them. That's all you need is little propane tanks there. not tanks, but you know, it's butane, and you just fill it in through the bottom. So that's getting nice and hot there. Okay, you can see the orange spot right here. That's where the flame is. It runs up here, and it's getting this hot. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this and wrap it around here and melt it together. This is the fun part. You just go around the connector until it's melted, and on the end of the connector, when it's done, you'll see is like a, let me see if I focus that in for you. You see how there's like a glue that kind of squirts out on the end of that? That's your water sealing. I mean, it's like a glue that just sticks to the wire, and it makes this whole connection waterproof. I mean, look how nice that is too. You'll never have a problem with that connector. Okay, so let's do the other one on the bottom here. Same thing. This is heat shrink tubing, and what you want to do is you just want to shrink it till it shrinks to the wire. You don't want to overdo it, because if you overdo it, it'll split, and then the connection will be no good. You'll lose your waterproofing and everything. Let's see if I can focus that in so you can see it really. I mean, it's really, this is nice. This is nice stuff, and it makes the connections so awesome. I mean, they'll last forever. I usually use this on automotive, like if I have a broken wire in a fender or something, or someplace where a lot of water can get to it. I just use this shrink wrap tubing or the heat shrink butt connectors, and it makes an awesome seal. Lifetime. You know, you'll never have a problem with this as long as you own your house. You just want to seal it to the wires, you know. Make sure there's a good connection there. Oops, I don't want to get too close to the wire. I don't want to melt the wires. Heat gun's nice because you don't have a flame and the air is blowing on it, which this is just kind of heat just pumping out of the wires. And that's it. Alright, shut that baby off. Now, as you can see, let me see if I can focus this in a little bit. You have your connection. It's sealed to the wires here, sealed to the wires here. Your butt connector, you can see the little glue coming out on the end there. I mean, these connections right here are way better than this will ever be, and it will outlast it like for years, no problem. So I hope that helped. I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. I mean, you want lasting connections. I mean, if you're going to spend all that time putting in landscape lighting, you don't want to have it fail, you know, you don't want to have it fail in a year. So do it right the first time and then forget about it. So visit me at Eddie Carrara at hubpages.com for more tips and ideas on the things that do-it-yourselfers do. Take care for now. Have a good one.